Hello there. I want to talk a little bit about a question that comes up pretty much as soon as we begin to think about doing hand tool woodworking. And that question is basically, you know, which route do I go when I'm talking about tools? Do I buy new tools and just get on with woodworking? Or do I find old tools? Do I go to flea markets and thrift stores, my grandfather's attic, anywhere, my neighbors, uh, and look around for old vintage tools, take them in home, restore them, put them in working order, and work wood with them. And both sides are valid. You see an argument sometimes, well, contrarianism maybe a bit on the internet forums about because each side thinks that their way is the best way. Well, we all do that. You know, the way I do something I think is the best way for me to do it, or I wouldn't do it. But my mind ought to be open up enough to understand that other people have a different view and a different way of doing things, and so uh, my way might be valid for me, but another guy might see something completely opposite, and it will suit him or her for their workflow the way that they work wood. It's the same with this question of do I buy new tools or do I rehab old tools? Number one, let's look at do I buy new tools first. Most of the gentlemen that will say, look, I don't rehab tools. I don't want to spend time rehabbing tools. I want to work wood, so I buy the best tool I can afford new and go to work. And that's a valid way of doing things. To be honest with you, if I had the money, I might do that on some tools. Uh, but the thing of it is this predisposes you have the income available to do that because like just a simple equivalent of something like this, number 4 Stanley, it'll cost you between $100 and $150, and that's just a guess based on what I remember when I first started trying to work wood and trying to come up with tools, and that was 3-4 years ago. Uh, That'll cost you $100, $150 for a solid, good quality tool that you don't have to put a whole lot of work to. Now, you can go buy lesser tools, but then you have to flatten the soles and square to the sides and all kind of stuff. And if you're going to do that, you just well do that to an old tool that you know is a whole lot better quality than that cheaper new tool that you bought. So, but there are people out there that don't want to spend time rehabbing old tools. They just want to start working wood. And also, you have to look at it, you know, is this person a hobbyist or is this guy a pro? Now, if he's a professional, in other words, he makes a living or makes money working with hand tools. He may not necessarily make a living, but he might make enough money that he can afford to buy his tools and pay for his shop and pay for his wood and all of that. Okay, somebody like that, it might be better off. That guy might be better off going to Lee Valley or Lie-Nielsen and or Lee Nielsen, however you pronounce it, and buying new tools because he can keep right on working and making money. Okay, but for a hobbyist, which is what I am, uh, I don't have the income for that. So my solution is to rehab old tools. Now, it's work. Uh, you have to do your research to know what you need to do to that tool to make it function properly, and then you have to spend the time to do it. Uh, for me, that's pretty much the only way I can go because I don't have the money to buy. I can't spend $70 for a chisel, and I can't spend $150 for a number 4, or $220 for a number 5 or a number 7, or what. I can't do that. I don't have that. You know, I'm working with reclaimed wood. You know, I'm working with pallet wood and 2x4 lumber and stuff that people give me. So that's not a question for me. You know, if I can't get my wood free, I can't work wood. So how am I going to spend the money on a brand new Veritas plane? It's not going to happen. But there's another factor in that, that you can that might guide your decision, and that is, do you like restoring things? Do you like working with your hands? And I'm not just talking wood. For me, uh, some of you guys, if you know me from my shaving channel on YouTube, you'll understand that I love restoring straight razors and brushes and all kinds of things related to shaving. And I enjoy that just as much as the actual act of shaving. And it's the same thing when it comes to rehabbing tools. Some guys will say, well, you're spending too much money in rehabbing that tool. That plane that you spend an hour or 2 hours on, when you get older, you're going to look at that plane and go, man, I spent too much time on wasted time on it. Well, I wasted time and energy, not for me, because there's a joy for me in taking something that somebody set aside or threw away and putting it back in service and restoring it to work in order. I really enjoy doing that. And I could do that and never touch a piece of wood and be happy for the rest of my days. Of course, I haven't got room to, I'd fill this room up real quick with tools if I was trying to do that. And as far as trying to resell them and stuff, that's too much of a hassle for me to even think about. So, but I love doing that. And then when you stop and think about taking a tool that you restored and taking it out to the bench and taking a piece of wood and using that tool to make something that's either functional and utilitarian and does a job, has a purpose, or something that is that but is also beautiful, it's really hard for me to describe the absolute satisfaction that I get from doing that. And so when I rehabbed this plane, I spent some time on it, okay? But I will never consider that time wasted, because every time I use this plane, I'll remember that the joy that I had in restoring it, that this was done with my hands, and the thing that I'm making with this plane was made possible to make it because of the work of my own hands on this tool. So it's just what you like, what you prefer. But that's a decision that you need to make. Now, if you're like me and you don't have the money, then you don't have any option. It's old tools or junky tools from Lowe's or Home Depot or Harbor Freight. And trust me, that Harbor Freight plane, I had one. I took it apart and used parts of it on other things. That's how much that plane was worth to me, okay? But it was cheap. It was a cheap plane, so I could take parts off of it and use them for other things. So that's, otherwise, you're going to spend money on junk tools and they're not going to perform for you. So you got to go find the old tools, find the old Stanleys, the old Miller's Falls, find them, fix them, put them back in working order, and use them. If you want to work wood, that's what you're going to have to go find old chisels and restore them, put them back in working order and use them. That's what you're going to have to do. You ain't got any choice. So, but those are the two choices that most people are faced with. There is a hybrid choice, guys that have the money to buy the newer tools and do, but also like the older tools, and they'll use a hybrid of new and old tools. There's nothing wrong with that either. But that's a decision you have to make immediately when you start working wood. But what am I capable of? That's number one. Not so much what I want to do, but what am I able to do? And then you go from there. All right, I hope that this helped you. God bless you. I'll talk to you later.